During Core 1 of the Spy Family anime, fans have gotten the chance to see Loid Forger go from being a heartless spy who wasn't above playing with the emotions of women for his mission to being someone who's being described by fans as being a lovable father in such a wholesome anime series. In today's video, I want to go over a moment in the series that, in my opinion, truly signified the strongest bit of evidence that the Loid Forger who we were introduced to in the very beginning of the series is now dead, and that the new Loid Forger that we've all fallen in love with was born in its place. Up until now, we've only seen small moments to show how much Lloyd has changed from where the anime left off with the Penguin episode, where at the very end of the episode he swallowed his pride in order to play spy with Anya and Yor, to some of the earlier episodes where he showed true compassion for the feelings of Anya, the small child who he adopted. However, in my opinion, none of that matters, because the strongest bit of evidence here comes from a scene that we won't see until the anime returns in Core 2 this fall, which is the scenes from the back half of chapter 30 of the manga. This is hands down the biggest red flag to everyone who knows Lloyd, that proves that he's been changed into a better man by Yor and Anya. In chapter 30 of the manga, when Fiona, better known as Agent Nightfall, shows up unexpectedly at Lloyd's apartment, Lloyd had just returned home with Anya from walking the dog Loid Forger, and Fiona begins speaking in a coded message to Lloyd, directly questioning him about his dedication to Operation Strix and pointing out that his operational tactics needed to be reviewed because playing house had obviously made Lloyd soft. This is more than Lloyd taking offense to his dedication as a spy being questioned, but rather this is him in a subtle way filling the role of being the man of the house and defending the family that he's built here, from their dog Loid Forger to his wife Yor to his daughter Anya from Agent Nightfall, who, on top of questioning his operational tactics, had the motive of actually breaking up this family that Lloyd had established because she wanted to remove Yor from the picture and she wanted to be Lloyd's wife. However, while the two of them are in their silent back and forth about Lloyd's operational tactics, it's then that we see that Lloyd has actually changed. To Fiona, Lloyd was somebody who never truly showed any of his true feelings, no matter what the situation was. Emotions were only a weakness that would get you killed, especially in the spy game. However, as she watched the interactions between Lloyd and Yor, Fiona began to replay the many faces of Loid Forger inside of her mind, and as she watched Lloyd smile at Yor while saying that she had already worked hard enough and that the bond between Anya and Yor was the best contribution that Yor could ever make to their relationship, Fiona, someone who's utterly obsessed with Lloyd, pictured the fake smile of the many undercover aliases that Lloyd has, from Lionel from the National Defense Force to Lawrence, the black arms dealer, to Robert, the secretary of a politician. However, the longer she watched Lloyd with Yor, the more it became apparent that the smile that she was seeing hadn't been a fake smile. Instead, it had been the real thing. For the first time in all the time she'd known Lloyd, she saw a true smile from Lloyd as he was being surrounded by Yor, Anya, and Bond, and it alarmed Fiona because it confirmed for her that the lines between Operation Strix and the Forger family were becoming dangerously blurred. Walking Bond with Anya hadn't been something as simple as keeping up appearances. It had been about doing something that Lloyd had genuinely loved, which is spending time with his family, even though he himself hadn't realized it at the time. As often is the case, when people begin to change, it's actually the people who know them the best who begin to realize that a change is occurring, which is what leads to Fiona flat out telling him that playing house with Yor and Anya made Lloyd feel soft. But it wasn't from a place of worrying about the mission like she stated, but rather this was her speaking from a place of jealousy. However, why exactly did Lloyd begin to lower the walls between himself and Yor in the moments where they were alone in the room with Fiona? Well, to understand why, we have to dig deeper into Lloyd's past as well as psychology. As I stated in my video, every sign Yor and Lloyd are in love, Lloyd had already begun the process of making connections between Yor and his deceased mother. Lloyd can barely recall his mother, at least according to what he told Yor in the manga, but we as readers know the tragic circumstances of Lloyd losing his mother, the woman who Yor reminds him of. His mother was blown up in a bomb strike, and that was the moment that made Lloyd an orphan and left him to fend for himself. The mother who would soothe his mind when bombs would go off by humming and singing to him as a child had been killed in a brutal fashion. She was a victim of war. He didn't retain a lot of memories of his mother, likely due to the trauma of losing her in that manner, and his mind was doing its best to shut out the trauma from his brain. but he did remember the song that she used to hum to him, meaning that this song was likely something that was in his mind while fighting the battles where gunshots and bombs were going off all around him, which is why when he heard Yor humming that same song, it triggered the memory of his mother. By interacting with Yor in the way that he has, he's begun to make that connection back to his mother, because Yor, for him, is an outlet that subconsciously takes him back to a time when his name wasn't Loid Forger or Agent Twilight. He could actually be himself. He could be who he is actually born to be. To understand why this is so huge and why Fiona was alarmed by what she saw, we have to look at three things here. The reason studies say that men are attracted to women who possess qualities of their mother, the reasons adults subconsciously tend to cling to memories of their childhood, and why Lloyd beginning to lower his guard around Yor and Anya is a sign that Agent Twilight is dying a slow death, which will lead to Loid Forger being a real person. According to most studies, 2/3 of men are in a relationship with someone who shares qualities of their mothers. The reason why is evolution and natural selection have pre-programmed people to seek out partners who come from the same species group. Since men's earliest memories and closest contacts are often of their mothers, they tend to become the template that men seek out when looking for a wife who can be potentially a good mother, because that is their frame of reference. Yor can't do a lot of the feminine things that are expected of a modern day wife, but she has a good heart just like Lloyd's mother did, and she tends to make the best out of the circumstances that she has. She makes do with whatever's in front of her, just like Lloyd's mother was forced to do during Lloyd's childhood. The other reason why this is significant is that Yor and Anya and Bond represent something that Lloyd never truly had, which is a full, complete childhood, a normal childhood. We've already established how Yor reminds Lloyd of his mother and the importance of it, but let's look at how the entire Forger family represents the childhood that was stolen from him. According to studies, people tend to miss their childhood mostly out of boredom or loneliness in most cases. Lloyd has been a man of many faces throughout his time as a spy, but he's been a man who's essentially been lonely for a very long time. After his mother died, he began racking up a high kill count as a soldier, joining the army at a much younger age than should have been allowed because he faked his identity to fight into a war. For Lloyd, being around a woman who makes him think about his mother and being around the daughter who with all her quirks is still a very innocent child at heart, it began to feel the loneliness inside of Lloyd's heart. Playing the role of a family man has given him the opportunity to do something that he never had, even do something he never thought was possible for him, which is have a normal life. And in an alternative world, where his parents were never killed, this actually would have been Lloyd's life. That brings us to the third reason why Fiona noting the change in Lloyd is so huge, because it means that Lloyd is in the process of moving away from being a spy. The whole reason he joined the army was to fill the hole in his heart and take out his anger that came from the pain of loss and wanting to prevent other children from growing up like he did, where tears were being shed over the losses of war. However, if Operation Strix accomplishes its goal, there's a strong chance that he prevents that outcome for many children, but in the process, he would have gotten so attached to his fake family that he might end up walking away from it, because there aren't that many 60-year-old spies, because in that line of work, death eventually catches up with you. And by this point in time where Operation Strix would be a success, Lloyd would have 3 reasons to live and to walk away from that lifestyle, which would be Anya, Yor, and Bond Forger. But this is where I turn it over to you guys. Which moment do you think changed Lloyd the most? While you consider that, consider watching these other Spy Family and other anime videos you see on the screen right now.